Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is ALIAH binti Nur. So today I will start with introduction of Tunku Abdul Rahman. The full name of Tunku Abdul Rahman is Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj, and he was born on 8 February 1903. He passed away in 1990, which is in 87 years old. He come from royal family, he was the son of Sultan Kedah, and his mother is daughter of future Prime Minister in Siam. Tunku Abdul Rahman got title as a father of independence because of achieved independence for Malaya from colonies in 31 August 1957. In age 4 years, he's learning both of language, which is Malay and English. In the morning, he will learn Malay language, and in the afternoon, he will learn English language in Government English School, also known as Sultan Abdul Hamid School. In age 8 years old, he moved to Bangkok, Thailand, and lived with his brother, Captain Tunku Yusof, as an army Thailand. In age 12, he studies at Penang Free School, and age 16 years, he gets scholarship from Kedah government and success to continue studies at Cambridge Catering College. In 1925, he got certificate in Bachelor of Arts in age 19 years old. So I will continue my introduction. Tunku Abdul Rahman go back to England to study law because of his brother, which is Tunku Ibrahim, instructed him. When he studied in England, he started to create Malay Society Great Britain with student Malay in there. After that, Tunku Abdul Rahman joined Kedah Civil Service as a cadet officer, and Tunku Abdul Rahman returned to Malay because of Second War in 1938, which affected peace in many countries in there. So, when he returned to Malay, he worked as a district officer of Sungai Petani, Kedah. And in 1947, Tunku Abdul Rahman served as a deputy director of Civil Defence, Kedah. After that, Tunku Abdul Rahman returned to England and successfully completed their studies in there. After his return back to Malay, Tunku Abdul Rahman served as a chairman of the Kedah branch of the UMNO in 1949. Suddenly, Tunku Abdul Rahman transferred to Kuala Lumpur as a federal legal department, and he decided to resign and become as a president of UMNO. So we will move to the reward what Tunku Abdul Rahman got. Tunku Abdul Rahman get award. Tunku Abdul Rahman get award the Kedah Royal Order, aka KOM, in 1958. In this award, only him get the award because of the excellent contribution and service that he make it in the country. So, and another award is Tunku Abdul Rahman also got award the Raymond Magsaysay Award from Community Leadership in 1960. So the last part is vision and mission Tunku Abdul Rahman. The vision of Tunku Abdul Rahman is to unite the multiracial society, to tolerance, harmony, and goodwill without bloodshed. So, yeah.
Assalamualaikum. My name is QISTINA binti ASRI. So today I will present about the first idea of Tunku Abdul Rahman, which is election 1959 under the leadership of Tunku Abdul Rahman. First, I will explain the core idea of the 1959 elections under the leadership of Tunku Abdul Rahman. Tunku Abdul Rahman believed that a government should be formed through free and fair elections. According to him, political authority should come from the people rather than colonial influence or force. He also believed that democracy can only function effectively when citizens are given the right to choose their leader through a transparent electoral system. Therefore, elections were not just a political procedure, they were an important mechanism to ensure legitimacy, accountability, and national stability in a newly independent country. The significance of 1959 election was that it was the first federal elections after Malaya gained independence in 1957. It marked the transition from British colonial rule to self-government based on the people's participation. Furthermore, the victory of the Alliance Party proved that political authority was based on the people mandate, which reflected the Tunku Abdul Rahman's democratic visions. Next, I will explain the first general elections after independence. The 1959 general election was held on 19 August 1959 and was the first national election conducted after Malaya achieved independence in 1957. One important change was that the increase in parliamentary seats, which is from 52 seats in 1955 to 104 seats in 1959. This allowed more people and regions to have political representations. The elections also used the first past the post system, where the candidate who received the highest number of votes won the seat. Under the leadership of Tunku Abdul Rahman, the Alliance Party won the elections and successfully formed the federal government. This victory strengthened public confidence in democracy and demonstrated that Malaya was capable of managing its own political system without colonial control. Now I will discuss PAS dominance in Kelantan and Terengganu. PAS stands for Parti Islam Se-Malaysia, or the Pan-Malaysia Islamic Party. It is one of the major political parties in Malaysia and promotes Islamic value in politics and society. During the 1959 general elections, PAS gained strong support in rural Malay majority area, especially in Kelantan and Terengganu. As a result, PAS won several parliamentary and state seats, making the party influential in the state. The success was largely influenced by Islamic value, rural socio-economic conditions, and Malay identity politics. Many voters believe that PAS better represented their religious belief and local interests. From Tunku Abdul Rahman's perspective, this situation was important because it showed that the elections allowed different political ideologies to compete openly. The rise of PAS also created strong political competitions and provided voters with more political choice. This proved that democracy in Malaya was becoming more mature, open, and representative. Therefore, the success of PAS demonstrates that democratic elections could accommodate different political views while maintaining political stability in the country. Next, I will explain consociationalism and racial cooperations. One of Tunku Abdul Rahman's important political idea was consociationalism, which referred to cooperations between different ethnic groups in a plural society. Malaysia consists of Malay, Chinese and Indian, so cooperation among this community was essential for national stability. This idea was reflected in the Alliance Party, which brought together UMNO, MCA and MIC. UMNO represented the Malays, MCA represented the Chinese community, and MIC represented the Indian community. Through this power-sharing arrangement, every major ethnic group had political representation in the government. As a result, ethnic cooperations helped maintain unity and political stability during the early years of independence. This approach also strengthened public trust in the democratic system and promoted national integrations. For the final slide, I will explain the economic roles of the ethnic group during the early independence period. At that time, Malay were mainly involved in agriculture, rural occupations, politics and public administration. The Chinese community dominated trade, business and urban economic activity. Meanwhile, the Indian community worked mainly in rubber plantations and professional sectors such as medicine, engineering and law. This different economic role created inequalities between ethnic groups and influenced voting patterns during elections. However, despite these economic differences, Tunku Abdul Rahman continued to emphasize cooperations, unity and political participation among all communities. His government believed that every citizen should have equal opportunities to participate in elections regardless of their economic background. Therefore, political stability and racial cooperation remain the main priorities in building a peace and united nations. So, we can conclude here the 1959 general elections reflected Tunku Abdul Rahman's democratic visions of free and fair elections, racial cooperations and national unity. His leadership helps establish a stable democratic system and lay the foundation for Malaysia's political development after independence. Thank you, that's all from me.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti NURAIN NATASYA binti Muhammad OTHMAN. So today, I will be talking about the Malaysia formation. Do you guys ever curious about how Malaysia was formed? So initially, the independence of the Federation of Malaya was followed by the formation of Malaysia. The formation of Malaysia showed the cooperation of leaders from the Federation of Malaya, including Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj, local leaders from Sarawak, Sabah and Singapore in negotiations with the British government. The agreement between all these parties manifested the formation of Malaysia and later the Federal Constitution of Malaysia 1963 was formed. Malaysia formation was established with multiple views such as ideas was made by the British officials, which is to unify the British territories in Southeast Asia under a single administrative and economic system. The ideas were intended to facilitate British administration in Federation of Malaya. Apart from that, Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj proposed the idea of Malaysia formation to merge the Federation of Malaya with Sarawak, Sabah, Singapore and Brunei for independence within one federal government system. So next, the rationale of Malaysia's formation. There were actually several factors in the formation of Malaysia. It's mainly due to security threat, stability of population composition, accelerating independence and for regional development. At that time, Singapore was entrapped by the communists. The communist threat in the state had threatened the security of the Federation of Malaya. Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj considered that Singapore will become a center for communist activities and strengthen the peace of the state. Therefore, this idea of unification with Singapore could give the federal government power to uphold the security and defense so that it will cook up the communist threat in Singapore. Next, Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj as UMNO leaders was concerned to the fact that the admission of Singapore into the federation will create an imbalance in the population composition between the Malays and the Chinese. So, the merger of Sarawak, Sabah and Brunei was hoped will balance the composition between the races. Apart from that, for the British itself, the formation of Malaysia could realize the decolonisation plan and accelerate independence of the Sarawak and Sabah. However, before the formation was made, British government needed to ensure that this effort had the support of the people in those Borneo regions. Rationally, the participation of the Federation of Malaya, Sarawak, Sabah and also Singapore and Brunei to form one federal government system was to enable these states to unite in efforts to accelerate development in various ideas. For instance, the formation of Malaysia can improve the standard of living, infrastructure, social and economic development among the citizens. Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj announced the formation of Malaysia on 27 May 1961 when he was interviewed by journalists at Adelphi Hotel, Singapore. The formation of Malaysia received reactions from various parties. There were those who opposed the idea and those who welcomed the proposal of the formation. Local people gave various reactions which consisted of residents and leaders of the Federation of Malaya, Sarawak, Sabah, Singapore and Brunei. There were also reactions from neighbouring countries included Indonesia, the Philippines and Thailand. In general, the plan to form Malaysia was well received by the people and also political parties in Federation of Malaya. Political parties agreed and accepted the proposal to form Malaysia, although there were differences of opinion over its implementation. In addition, Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj even received the support of UMNO regarding the plan to form Malaysia. Apart from that, in Sabah, initially the people of Sabah felt suspicious about the formation. At that time, Sabah was developing in trade activities while the civil service system was improving quite well and the people were free to conduct their daily activities. Meanwhile, the presence of British troops guaranteed their safety. Therefore, the people of Sabah thought that there was no need to join the formation. Towards the formation of Malaysia, major political party was established. These include UNCO, USNO, PASUK Mamogun and Sabah Chinese Associations, SCA. USNO, that was led by Datu Patinggi Datu Harun, supported the idea of the formation of Malaysia from the very beginning. However, the proposal for the formation of Malaysia surprised some of the leaders and people of Sabah. They expressed the desire to seek separate independence or to form an independence union of Borneo. In addition, most people in Sabah consider Federation of Malaya to be isolated like Indonesia and Philippines. They even question the problem of their local leaders who have to adapt to the political activities, elections and self-governing that were already practiced in Singapore and Federation of Malaya. At the same time, the distance between Sarawak, Sabah and Kuala Lumpur also become one of the main concerns of Sabah people. In Sarawak, there were various reactions from leaders and people to the plan. Some directly showed support while some opposed the ideas openly. As example, Barasa, which was led by Datuk Petinggi Abdul Rahman Yaakob and Datuk Tuanku Haji Bujang Tuanku OTHMAN, and PANAS, that was led by Datuk Bandar Ahong Haji Mustafa, supported the formation of Malaysia. Initially, SNAP, that was led by Stephen Kalunikan, opposed the idea. However, supported it later due to recommendations made by Jawatan Kuasa Setiakawan JSKM. In October 1962, PANAS, SNAP, Barjasa, SCA and Pesaka merged to form the Sarawak Alliance Party to support idea of Malaysia. Similar to Sarawak and Sabah's version, the idea was accepted and opposed by some parties in Singapore and Brunei. In Singapore, the People's Action Party (PAP), which was led by Lee Kuan Yew, accepted the proposal. Meanwhile, the traders and industrialists believed the plan could bring out big opportunities for them to expand their market. Other parties, such as the Singapore Labour Party, essentially agreed to the plan but considered the coalition to be difficult to establish. However, there were also some who resisted, such as Singapore's People's Party and the Socialist Front, who thought that the coalition was an idea of new colonialism. In Brunei, Sultan of Brunei, Sultan Omar Ali Saifuddin, at that time also welcomed the Malaysia formation along with the people who were initially interested to join. However, they decided to achieve independence first, thus rejecting the proposal. The Brunei People Party, which was led by A.M. Azhari, opposed the idea because he intended to merge Brunei, Sarawak, Sabah and North Kalimantan into a single union. A.M. Azhari thought that the formation of Malaysia was also an idea initiated by the British government to maintain its influence so that they can control economy while maintaining peace and safety in these territories. So next, we will be talking about the road towards the formation of Malaysia. The proposal for the formation of Malaysia was presented in Dewan Rakyat on 16 October 1961 and received the majority support from the members of the House. The support then enabled the government of the Federation of Malaya to start their efforts toward the formation of Malaysia. Various methods were used to realize the formation, including conducting a survey visit to the states involved, the establishment of Jawatan Kuasa Setiakawan JSKM, Singapore referendum, London negotiations that was led by Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj, the establishment of Cobalt Commission, and lastly, formation of Jawatan Kuasa Antara Kerajaan JAK. So for the first one, Syria visit. In July 1961, Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj visited Sarawak and Brunei. This visit was to inspect and meet with local leaders to explain the plan for the formation of Malaysia. After that, the government of Federation of Malaya arranged for the leaders of Sarawak and Sabah to visit the Federation of Malaya. In August 1962, Datu Bandar Abang Haji Mustafa, Temenggung juga Anak Bering, Donald Stephens and Datu Mustafa Datu Harun made a visit to inspect the development in Federation of Malaya. Then, in November 1962, Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj once again made a visit to Sarawak and Sabah. The involvement of Datu Burhanuddin Al-Helmi and Ghaffar Babar in a visit to Sarawak and Sabah to explain the exact plan for Malaysia's formation showed that there was consensus among the politicians in Federation of Malaya in Malaysia formation. Apart from Syria visit to Sabah and Sarawak, Malaysia Solidarity Consultative Committee, or known as Jawatan Kuasa Setiakawan JSKM, was also established during the Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference in Singapore on 23 July 1961. The purpose of this establishment was to convince the people of Sarawak and Sabah about the formation of Malaysia, provide a medium for discussion to reach a consensus among the leaders, collect views on the formation of Malaysia, disseminate information related to Malaysia, and cultivate publicity activities to accelerate the formation. Publicity activities involve revealing progress in administrative and development made in Federation of Malaya. For the members of the committee, it consists of representatives from the Federation of Malaya, Singapore, Sarawak and Sabah. Donald Stephens was appointed as the chairman of JSKM. During the second meeting, JSKM decided to support the Malaysia plan. This committee actually played an important role in providing understanding to local leaders and gaining support for the formation of Malaysia. Next initiative was showed by the establishment of Cobalt Commission. The Cobalt Commission was officially formed in January 1962. The Cobalt Commission was established to survey the views of people in North Borneo and Sarawak. This commission consisted of representatives appointed by the British government and the Federation of Malaya. Lord Cobalt was appointed as the chairman and the members consist of Sir Anthony Abel, Sir David Weatherston, Muhammad Ghazali Shafi'i and Wong Poy-Ni. After the establishment, the commission visited 20 visit centres in Sarawak and 15 visit centres in Sabah. By June 1962, the Cobalt Commission submitted its report to the British and Federation of Malaya governments. Among the reports were, the first one is it state the two-thirds of the population supported the formation of Malaysia. The second one recommend that the Federal Constitution of Malaya 1957 be used as the basis for the new Federal Constitution. The third one and the last one is to propose that autonomous powers and special guarantees be given to Sarawak and Sabah, which cannot be amended or revoked by the federal government without obtaining the consent of the state government concerned. The British government and the Federation of Malaya then announced the establishment of the Intergovernmental Committee, or known as the Jawatan Kuasa Antara Kerajaan JAK, in August 1962. This committee was represented by the British government, the Federation of Malaya, Sarawak and Sabah. The establishment of the GAK was to provide a constitutional framework and to formulate the requirements to protect the interests of Sarawak and Sabah. This committee was chaired by Lord Lonsdale, the Colonial Secretary, and the Deputy Chairman was Tun Abdul Razak Hussein. Sarawak's representative in the committee was Datu Bandar Abang Haji Mustafa, Temenggung Juga Anak Bering, and many more. Meanwhile, for Sabah's representative, it consists of Datuk Mustafa Datu Harun, Donald Stephens, and Khoo Siak Chew. This committee held its first meeting in Jiasetan, Kota Kinabalu, Sabah on 30 August 1962. The last meeting was held in Kuala Lumpur from 18 until 20 September 1962. At lastly, this committee proposed 80 points for Sarawak and 20 points for Sabah that should be included in the federal constitution to guarantee the rights and interests of the people of Sarawak and Sabah. Among the points that form the core of the constitution include religion, language, constitution, head of federation, name of federation, and many more. And as you can see, I already provided two tables for the agreements for Sabah and Sarawak. The July 1963 agreement, also known as the Malaysia Agreement MA63, was a document signed by the British government, the Federation of Malaya, Sarawak, Sabah, and Singapore. This agreement was signed on 9 July 1963 in London. The content of this agreement is as proposed by the GAK. The main principle of this agreement is to recognise equal rights for all states in Malaysia. Malaysia Agreement key points included the date of formation of Malaysia is 31 August 1963. Sarawak, Sabah, and Singapore will become members of the Federation of Malaysia together with the Federation of Malaya. The third one, the British government will recognise the sovereignty of Sarawak, Sabah, and Singapore within Malaysia. Sarawak and Sabah were given advantage to form their own states cabinets, allocate a transitional period, for example, in the fields of public administration and education for Sarawak and Sabah. Second last, parliamentary seats are given to Singapore with 15 seats, Sarawak with 24 seats, and Sabah with 16 seats. Bumiputra in Sarawak and Sabah received the same recognition as the Malays in the federal constitution. And lastly, I will be talking about the Declaration of Malaysia that was made on 16 September 1963. The declaration ceremony was held simultaneously in Kuala Lumpur, Sarawak and Sabah. In Kuala Lumpur, Yang di-Pertuan Agong read the Declaration of Malaysia at the Stadium Merdeka and was witnessed by Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Hajj. Meanwhile, in Sarawak, Datuk Abang Haji Openg Abang Syafiee sworn in as the Yang di-Pertuan Negeri of Sarawak. The Declaration of Malaysia was read by Khir Johari, the federal government's representative in Kuching, Sarawak, and there were also present of members of the state cabinets to witness the declaration. Lastly, in Sabah, with Tun Abdul Razak Hussein represent federal government, Datu Mustafa Datu Harun announced the Declaration of Malaysia in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah and signed the oath of office as the very first Yang di-Pertuan Negeri of Sabah. I think that's all from me. Thank you for listening to me. Bye-bye.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is ARIEFAH binti ZOLKANAIN, and today I would like to present about one of the ideas of Tunku Abdul Rahman, which cover the topics of Indonesia and Malaysia confrontation. Before I tell you guys what are the ideas of Tunku Abdul Rahman, let us look at the historical story behind it first. Just now, my friend already talks about the Malaysia formation, and unfortunately, there is a significant challenge that are highlighted in our history. This phenomenon due to the opposition of a numerous country, including Indonesia, and it caused the regrettable crisis occurred called Indonesia and Malaysia confrontation. So, what is the meaning of the confrontation? Confrontation means a situation in which people or groups with opposing ideas or opinions disagree angrily. Within this context, this term means a blend of diplomacy, intimidation, deception, and the infiltration of irregular and regular forces to strain the adversary's resources to their utmost. Actually, Indonesia and Malaysia confrontation happened from 1963 until 1966. This crisis took place because of the President Sukarno opposed the formation of Malaysia because he viewed it as a British neo-colonial plot designed to maintain Western influence in Southeast Asia and threaten Indonesia's security and regional freedom. Next, we move to the what are the reasons or what are the causes of the Indonesia and Malaysia confrontation. One of the contributing drivers behind this confrontation was Indonesia's pursuit of geopolitical realignment in Sarawak and North Borneo, or currently known as Sabah. This is because on 27 May 1961, Tunku Abdul Rahman proposed a new idea regarding the new Federation of Malaysia. In his idea, he wants to merge the peninsula of Malaya with North Borneo, Brunei, and Sarawak as one federation. The reason of his ideas is because he wants to stabilize the population of Chinese and Malays rather than a merger only with Singapore. And the second driver why Indonesia wants to start a confrontation with Malaysia is because the spatial closeness with the southern half of Borneo called Kalimantan. As you can see on the maps provided, Kalimantan and Sarawak is literally side by side and they are so close. So this territorial proposal for Malaysia was like a prima facie as a geopolitical expansion that touched upon Indonesia's borders, which Kalimantan. And actually, initially, Indonesia expressed no objection to Malaysia's proposal due to its hereditary sentiment toward those territories, because it might resemble that Indonesia is greedy for Sarawak. Then we go through on the chronology of the Indonesia and Malaysia confrontation, or we look at how the confrontation started. Okay, so let me start with the begin of the confrontation is where in the December 1962, anti-Malaysia revolt broke out in Brunei by the North Kalimantan National Army or Tentera Nasional Kalimantan, which led by the ASRI. The revolt broke out due to the Brunei opposition against the formation of Malaysia because Brunei wanted independence instead of joining the federation. And through this phenomenon, British pushed to send their troops from Singapore to Brunei in pursuit of crushing the revolt within days. At this time, Indonesia denied any involvement in supporting Brunei, but they added fuel to the fire by justifying it as a sentiment that the Malaysia proposal was more egregious than it initially appeared, because Malaysia's approach was known as more diplomatic. Next, we go on the 20 January 1963, where the Indonesian true colors started to show up, primarily due to the announcement of the confrontation policy by Dr. Subandrio, which the Indonesian foreign minister at that time. And at the same time, a small-scale guerrilla raids against Sarawak and Sabah began to be launched from Kalimantan. And from that date, Indonesia officially expressed its opposition to the creation of Malaysia. And in May 1963, where the President Sukarno and President Machagapal, which the ninth president of the Philippines at that time, wanted to support Malaysia merger using the diplomatic approach. And during this period, both of them reached a consensus to hold a three-party discussion between the leaders of Malaya, the Philippines, and the Indonesia. Then this consensus continued on the 7th till 11th June 1963, where the Summit Conference of Foreign Ministers happened, and this conference was attended by Tun Razak, the Malayan Foreign Minister, Dr. Subandrio, representing Indonesia, and lastly, I Palais, the Filipino Vice President. This talk is intended to come up with two objectives, which first, they want to confirm their willingness of the North Borneo territories to merge as the Federation of Malaysia, and secondly, they want to form a loose confederation called Mafili Hindu. But this conference don't reach its objective because on 9th July 1963, Tunku Abdul Rahman signed the Federation Agreement in London with Britain, Singapore, Sarawak, and Sabah. Okay, so in this slide, begin with the 17th July 1963, where the President Sukarno officially declared of the crushed Malaysia, or in the Malay language, we call it as the Ganyang Malaysia. This event happened because of the previous crisis where the Tunku Abdul Rahman signed the agreement, and because of that, President Sukarno accused Tunku Abdul Rahman of in breaching the faith of the June agreement. And then the downfall of the confrontation can be perceived from the 9 August 1965, where the separation of Singapore from Malaysia happened. The separation occurred because of the controversies happened between Malaysia and Singapore regarding the preservation of preferential rights for the indigenous Malay population. And that's why the Singapore is separated from Malaysia. Next, In 30 September 1965, a coup d'etat against President Sukarno occurred, and this event led to the end of the confrontation. For your information, a coup d'etat is a meaning of a sudden or often violent and illegal seizures of government power. It is typically executed by a small group of military leaders of or political elites to overthrow the incumbent government. And this coup was carried out by a few rebel military officers headed by Lieutenant Colonel Untung, involving 6 army generals, including Major General Suharto, the commander of the Strategic Reserve. Then, this coup ended with the relinquishment of the President Sukarno on March 1966. Then, after of several months, the covert talks transpired in Malaya and Bangkok among Malaysian and Indonesian leaders to achieve reconciliation. And finally, in 11 August 1966, Indonesian new Foreign Minister Adam Malik signed a peace treaty in Jakarta, and which brought the confrontation into the end. Finally, we move to the highlighted topics of the day, which is the ideas of Tunku Abdul Rahman within the Indonesia and Malaysia confrontations. There are two ideas which Tunku Abdul Rahman did in this confrontation, which first, he aligned with the Commonwealth forces. In the midst of the confrontation, Tunku Abdul Rahman made a treaty with Britain to reinforce Malaysian defense. At that time, Britain supplied 68,000 troops and 80 vessels to the Far East with assistance from the Commonwealth allies, including New Zealand and Australia. The example of troops, including Anzac Force, the Special Air Service, or known as SAS, and Gurkha regiments. And these three were a key component of the security forces operating in North Borneo against Indonesia infiltrators. And the second one of the ideas, Tunku Abdul Rahman associating with the United Nations Security Council. This is because he made a formal complaint to the United Nations Security Council accusing Indonesia of blatant and inexcusable aggressions against a peaceful neighbor. And the act itself was breaching the peace and involved a threat to international peace and security. But after the complaint was filed, Indonesia defended that its aggression was valid and claimed that domestic violence in Malaysia was evidence of Malaysia's non-viability rather than an effect of Indonesian subversion. However, the majority of the council was unmoved by the Indonesian refrain, which led to the Indonesia defeated the argument by the Soviet Union veto and Czechoslovakia lone vote.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Aslinda Balqis binti ARIS. So today I'm going to present about the May 13, 1969 racial riots. These incidents also called as a Black Day in Malaysia because of the racial riots between Malay communities and Chinese communities. The Prime Minister at the time is Tunku Abdul Rahman was responsible to cater these issues by exposing some ideas, and many people are involved and they are gathered together to make processions in Kuala Lumpur that lead to many people were killed, property damage, and so on. Next, I will explain about the causes of this incident. The first one is announcements of the 1969 general election result. The result showed that the Alliance Party lost its two-third majority in the Selangor State Assembly. This means that the opposition party has owned seats in the Selangor State Assembly. This marked the biggest victory faced by the opposition party, which means DAP, and also for the Gerakan. When this situation is happened, it caused concerns and worry among the Malays people because the Alliance Party faced declining result during that election. Secondly, the provocations and victory parade by the opposition parties, DAP and Gerakan, have made processions around the city of Kuala Lumpur to celebrate the victory. However, the procession known as more extreme because they have used derogatory words with Malay people. For example, like they said, "We are the king," and remove the Malay police again. Not only that, some of the group trying broom to their vehicle as a sign of victory they achieved. When this situation is happening, this proves that the action that is made by the Chinese communities can affect the Malay people and creating feeling of resentment between the Malay and Chinese communities. Next, divide and rule policy. This policy means the social segregations in Malaya according to race. This policy has had impact in terms of polity, economy, and social. In terms of polity, immigrant migration was an occurrence where the separations of the population was based on settlements areas. For example, the Chinese live in city areas, Indians in estate areas, and Malay were placed in villages or rural areas. When this situation is occur, it can directly impact the economy by causing economic activity to be based on ethnicity. However, in terms of social, this policy can lead to the gap between races. This show that divide and rule policy does not bring any racial unity in our country and created feeling of prejudice between race and cause relation between society become limited. Next, I will explain about the ideas of Tunku Abdul Rahman related to these incidents. The first one is the declarations of emergency. Tunku Abdul Rahman declared a state of emergency in Kuala Lumpur at 7 p.m. on 13 May 1969 through RTM broadcast. This declaration was made to control the situations occurring around Kuala Lumpur due to racial riots that resulted in death, injuries, property damage, and so on. He also advised that this incident should not spread widely. Therefore, Tunku Abdul Rahman declared a 24-hour curfew order. This means that all residents are prohibited from leaving the affected area and must stay in their respective home. Next, Tunku Abdul Rahman also supported the establishment of the National Operation Council, or known as Mageran, which established on 16 May 1969, that is responsible to restore and bring back the peace of the nations and welfare of the people. However, Tunku Abdul Rahman also responsible to appoint his own deputy, which is Tun Abdul Razak, as the director to lead Mageran. This is because Tun Abdul Rahman believed that Tun Abdul Razak is the right person, younger, more active, and more suitable to manage the country's situation since he have the experience in handling the in defense and national development portfolio.
So, in conclusion, it is clear and evident that Tunku Abdul Rahman is indeed a great figure in Malaya because he was willing to make physical and mental sacrifices in negotiating for the independence of Malaya. Tunku Abdul Rahman can also be used as a role model for the current and future generation to always love Malaya and do their best to find initiative to create a harmonious and peaceful atmosphere. To create to ensure harmonious and peaceful in Malaya. There are many ideas that Tunku Abdul Rahman has done for Malaya during the tenure as a first prime minister. To his ideas, Malaya gained freedom from all colonies from the colonialists and problem related to Malaya, aka Malaysia. So that's all from me.